Well, I was born and raised on a Holstein commercial dairy farm in southern Illinois, and I went to the University of Illinois and majored in dairy science, graduated there, was also on the dairy judging team. While I was a senior, I sent out my resumes. I wanted to be a sire analyst, so I sent it to several AI studs, including select sires, and got the natural Dear John letter back saying that we do not have an opening in the sire department. So then I saw an ad in the help wanted ad in the back of the Hordes Dairyman magazine for an AI company stationed in Michigan that wanted to have a sales rep in Western Indiana. And that happened to be a member cooperative of Select Sires. So I applied for that, interviewed that, got that job. So I was a sales rep for, at that time, MABC Select Sires in Western Indiana. And then they wanted to open a new territory in northern Wisconsin and asked if I'd be willing to move to northern Wisconsin in the Green Bay area and be a sales rep and an SMS evaluator, and I jumped at the chance. It was an opportunity to get to cow country and do something I love to do. So I was there for 2 years, and then a sire analyst position became available, or at least an assistant to the sire analyst position at Select Sires became available. I had applied and I interviewed and fortunately was hired. Counting my 4 years with MABC, this year I'll finish, next month will be 41 years completed. Truly, it's got to be the great people that I've had a chance to work with, be mentored by, and throughout our industry, both at Select Sires and the Select Sire Federation. The chance to meet and some great breeders around the globe, see some amazing cows, some really outstanding cow families, and fortunately I've had the good fortune of bringing some bulls that have made a difference in people's lives. Well, obviously the first turning point was the fact that Dick Chichester, after 4 years as a sales rep and SMS evaluator, took a risk to hire me as an assistant sire analyst to get started. But I guess the other biggie was probably in 1988. I'd been with Select Sires then 10 years, and I had a bull that I had acquired that came in with a pretty good proof, ended up being the #1 bull domestically and international on the international list, and his name was Tomar Blackstar. And then at the meeting, proof meeting, Dick and all the other sire team and member managers all signed a letter, said that Dick made the comment, "You are officially off probation." So that was the turning point in my career. Some of the great people when I started here in the sire program certainly had to be the John Hecker, who was my boss, and he was the only sire analyst that acquired sires at that time. Ron Long was truly probably one of the greatest cowmen to this day that I have ever met, and I've learned a lot from him. Roger Hoyt was in charge of our progeny test program, one of the really great statistical people that knew how to put it in practical basis. Dick Chester made a huge impact on my career. He always challenged you to be stronger and better and try new things. And George Miller, who was head of the marketing department, did an amazing job in making sure that we were all working together as a team. I made a comment one time about a bull, and it was a bull that wasn't a high-profile bull or anything, and kind of saying that, well, that's a marketing problem. And he looked at me, pointed to my chest, and he says, "Young man, we are all a part of marketing." And it really rang true to me, because to this day, if we create a product, a bull that the market doesn't want, it doesn't matter. So we truly always have to keep in mind what they want, not what we think they should have. Of the more recent sire team members that have made a huge contribution to today's genetic success, certainly have to be Rick Verbeek. It certainly has to be Scott Culberson and Jeff Ziegler and myself. I think we've been the current ones. The newest member of our team is Kevin Jorgensen, who lives in Wisconsin. He's been with us less than 2 years, but we're looking forward to great things that he will be contributing to the great genetic success of the future of Select Sires. Well, I oversee the traditional sire program, sire acquisition, working with the sire team that does that, working with dairymen. And then we also have Jeff Ziegler, who's in charge of our art program, who's in charge of creating males and females through that program. The team that we work with and the sire acquisition team would be Rick Verbeek, obviously Kevin Jorgensen, Jeff Ziegler, and myself, and we have 2 Jersey sire analysts as well. Well, probably the easiest way is to reference our artwork. And these are what we think are some of the greatest impact bulls from Select at all times. And these would have been bulls that, to get on this artwork, they were voted by our sales team, our evaluators, and all the federation members at our sales conference. And the highest vote getting bulls are the bulls that went on this list. It really all started with Elevation. He was probably the bull that put us on the map. A bull that was ahead of his time for being extraordinary for production and type, and certainly a game changer and a dominant bull in the breeding program around the world. Bulls such as Carlin M. Ivanhoe Bell, Walkway Chief Mark, and Chief Mark is close to my heart because in Southern Illinois my neighbor was Walkway Farms, so I knew the family, I knew the breeder very well. Foster Walk was one of the great cowmen I have ever met, and I would go there and I saw Chief Mark's dam, an incredible fawn mat. And I came back and I had just started here at Select Sires in the sire department, and I came back from a family visit and she had just calved and had a bull calf. And it was just an impressive calf and the cow looked amazing, so I came back to my boss, John Hecker. He says, hey, this is an incredible calf and the cow looks amazing. Would we be interested in bringing him in? So that would probably be one of the first bulls that I was involved with acquiring for Select Sires. Emery, a 97-point bull that certainly was a game changer. Huge production and strength combined, and one of the earliest 97-point bulls we've ever had at Select Sires. Glendale Arlinda Chief, another Southern Illinois bred bull. And Belle Elton, a breeder-proven bull, which came from Minnesota that I acquired, as certainly shows up in many of the pedigrees around the world today. Bull like Blitz, an Emery son, still today holds the record, all-time sales record of Select Sires of over 1.52 million doses. Bellwood Marshall, Tomar Blackstar, Reagan Crest Elton Durham, and more modern bulls such as Damien, a 97-point high type bull, Advent Red, certainly a game changer in the red breed and dominant sire of Premier Sire World Dairy Expo. Oman, probably one of the most successful bulls in the commercial operation herds, and certainly been a profitable for commercial herds, bringing back fertility, calving ease, and profitability, and obviously Planet, bringing back moderate stature, outcross blood, extreme production, and does an amazing job. Well, we've talked about starting our next round of artwork, and certainly bulls that are going to fall into that category will be Mogul. I think will make a huge impact. It was interesting that Planet, when genomics came along in 2008 and 2009, was a dominant success story for high sons and females. The next bull we had to do that was Mogul. And now as a great proven sire, he has proven to be going to have a huge impact through high sons and grandsons. What's really interesting is the next bull after that we've had that dominant success for has been Montrose. So maybe it might be an omen of things to come. Certainly Mogul will fall in that category, Super Sire will fall in that category as one of the great production impact sire bulls, and also with functional type and calving ease. And also on our new artwork, certainly GW Atwood. He is a game changer for type. To me, he's the greatest show type bull since Durham and Goldwyn, and I think is obviously the heir apparent to be Premier Sire in future years at World Dairy Expo. Everything's changed. Nothing's the same. We went from working with a few matings per year and using a handful of proven sires only on cows. No ET, traditional inseminations, and you're lucky to get a bull. So you had to mate a lot of cows just to get a few bulls. Then we moved on to a lot of flushing and IVF, where there was a lot of ET calves to pick from, and before genomics you would pick that calf based on conformation, what he looked like, the growthiest bull, the best looking bull. And then along came genomics, and that was a huge game changer, because now we're moving into an era where we're using only basically genomic bulls as sire fathers in the flushed and on virgin heifers. And with IVF, many of those are being done every 2 to every 4 weeks, so you have many calves from fewer parents. And obviously that is a concern from the standpoint of challenges maintaining a wider genetic base. There have been mullet schemes around the world for decades, but before genomics, looking at just parent averages, they haven't been very efficient. You really had about a 50-50 chance of being about right. Along comes genomics with genetic markers that should give us a lot more information and a predictability. Knowing that logically churning generation interval is critically important. We really were not sure how the traditional breeders are going to embrace turning generation interval that quickly, going from proven sires on cows to using young sires, genomic young sires as sire fathers, and just mating the youngest heifers. Because obviously it's a much greater risk if those don't hold up over time. And we were willing to take that risk, knowing we may have a lot more throwaways, discarded calves, but we were willing to do that. So we focused on the art program to do that. And in the art program, we tried to turn generation interval as quickly as possible to maximize genetic progress. We're willing to discard and eat and beef those calves that for some reason genomics has changed and they did not end up being what we had hoped they would be. Likewise, if some of the females don't turn out to what we'd expect to, the donor dams, we'll also discard them as well. But also in the art program, we can be more creative. We can create some sires that not everybody's doing, because everybody wants to use the high on the high to get high. And yet, if we are going to be the stewards of the breed being an AI cooperative, we know the value and necessity of maintaining a wider genetic base. So we're willing to create calves through the art program that may not have the rank that other calves might have through traditional programs, but we do it for pedigree diversity's sake. And knowing that you're going to have to do more of those combinations because you're going to have to go through more calves to get a keeper. So we're willing to do that, but it costs a lot more to do that. But if we don't do it, we don't think anyone else is going to do it. So we think those are critically important going forward as a breed industry and stewards of the Holstein breed. It has changed things somewhat, but many things have stayed the same. We've actually partnered with many herds where we really do a lot together. They are the first herds to get our highest genomic pre-release bulls to make sons, knowing that we have the opportunity to work with them on the high males, which they also will benefit from, but also they will then create the next generation of females for us to work with in the next generation. We've also used those herds to buy embryos from. So it has really helped their cash flow. They can flush some heifers, they can sell some embryos, transfer some embryos, and it's a win-win combination for both parties. Prior to genomics, we were progeny testing about 310 black and white Holstein bulls a year. This year, we're on target to do 275 bulls. So if we have downscaled size and downscaled somewhat, but not a lot, as primarily trying to maintain sire diversity and sires for every market. Yes, we have the high TPI market goal that we go after, the high net merit programs we go after, but we also create bulls that are specialists for a type market, or a specialist for a milk market and a calving ease market. So we have a lot of diversity, but also trying to maintain pedigree diversity. If we're going to continue to grow, we need to offer what is in demand and what the market may need. Things do change over time. And so we hope through the size of our program and diversity of our program, whatever changes come our way, we will be prepared for them. Well, I think the genomic predictions today are far superior than what they started with. In 2008, 2009, the predictor group was 2,500 proven sires. Now there's over 30,000 proven sires in the predictor group, and through enough males and females being tested in the population, they've done a pretty darn good job nailing down the significant markers in certain cow families and certain sire lines. Therefore, the markers, I think, in genomic data is far more accurate, even though the reliabilities haven't changed as much. And even though you look at a total index like a TPI or something like that, it has maybe 12 to 13 traits in it. You can have genomics may peg an animal correctly on 6 or 7 of those, but miss significantly on 2 or 3 and dramatically change rank. So I tell customers that focus on the 2 or 3 things that are most important traits to you and your breeding program. And if you look for bulls that are outliers in those traits, at the end of the day, when they get a daughter date approved, they will be good in those traits. They may or may not be in the 1, 2, or 3 or the top 4 or 5 bulls in that trait, but they will be good in those traits. And eventually, you'll actually get the traits that you're selecting for. It's done an amazing job of identifying the outliers for type. So I think even those that are more traditional type conscious breeders, I think now are come out of their comfort zone and are looking at high genomic bulls as a real source of identifying the next high type sires. Likewise with the great fitness bulls, likewise with the great component bulls. Anytime, going forward, there will always, those herds or operations that have large-scale aggressive embryo transfer programs and IVF programs will have more chances to identify the outliers. That's a fact of life. That's something you cannot change. However, you got to figure out and think about what is the best route that I can adapt to that. If you don't have a large-scale program, if you got a small program but still want to be competitive, there are other options. Another one of the options is to, when everyone else is zigging zag. An example, there will be the highest bulls get a lot of use out there. Therefore, when they have sons tested, there will be a lot of them to pick from, and we'll only take the very highest ones. Therefore, the bar to bring in a son of the very highest super sire or the very highest mogul son was much higher than the bar for bringing in sons of other sires, because we try to maintain sire diversity and different pedigree sacks. So creating something different yet high enough has marketability. Think of creating, and if it takes a lot of calves to bring in a bull high enough to come in, think of maybe also marketing embryos. Maybe using sorted semen on your highest females to create the next generation of high females through sorted semen to also sell additional embryos. Look for different markets. Look for specialty markets, such as trying to create a high polled or high red or a showcase selection or high type market. Try to find something that the market will be outstanding in a particular market, and it'll be a market for it at the end of the day. I would say meet people, be known. If you happen to be still in the university, particularly as a sophomore or junior, try to get an internship at an AI stud. Try to figure out what area that you might be interested in, being in genetics, in marketing, or advertising, or promotion. Try to get an internship. If that's not a possibility at the end of the day, try to make sure you meet people that have an opportunity to maybe consider you later on. An example, in my career when I didn't get an opportunity to be a sire unless out of college, but I got an opportunity to be a salesman for the organization. So through those 4 years, I had an opportunity to meet the staff here. They got to know me. And if my performance in the field showed then I had the work ethic to be the right person, when an opportunity became available, I knew about it, I applied for it, and that's how I got it. Likewise, if you know people, good place to go meet them is either go to the AI stud and introduce yourself to that department so they know you face to face. If you happen to be at a trade show like World Dairy Expo, they usually have booths. Ask for the persons that are involved in that department, be it genetic, be it marketing or a repro, and actually meet them face to face. Because when resumes come in, you see a piece of paper that tells you something, but also that next piece of information that you can visually remember that person also keeps you on the list to be considered. Well, this year we're going to celebrate our 50-year anniversary. And the challenge put forward to our sire team is prepared for the next 50 years. So that's going to take a lot of work. And I'm excited about that because through genomics, you have a lot of challenge, but you also have a lot of tools to be creative, to do new things, and to come up with different ways. But it really boils down to people, having the right people, having to work as a team to be successful. But there's so many new tools available today and better data today than ever before to make good decisions.